Hello and welcome to Full-Time Live on the Fulhamish YouTube channel, Facebook page and Twitter account. It's looking back after Fulham's 2-1 defeat at home tonight on the Friday night football to Leeds United. And yeah, it's not what we wanted at all from this game. And to be fair, from the off, we didn't look up for it, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. I thought we were very passive today. And one place I've got to start with is I'm joined by the two Georges. Coops and Singer, how are you both doing after that?
I'm deflated. I'm so frustrated. And yeah, Fulham weren't at the races from the get-go today. And yeah, I'm gutted. It was the most stressful match I think we've had all season for many reasons. But yeah, we just couldn't get a handle on the game. And we surrendered to their high press and then we're just flapping from word go. And it's just not what we need. We knew the importance of this match, and to put in a performance like that, I'm absolutely gutted and angry, and yeah, I'm not doing all too well, to be honest, Dom.
Singer, what about you? What did you make of it? Obviously we knew Leeds were going to play that way, but I mean, one thing I would have said, I think Scott Parker's team selection was off today. I don't think that would have been the 11 I would have gone with. I mean, if you looked at the changes, obviously Loftus-Cheek and Tete coming out with Robinson, and was it Anguissa who came in? I want to say. Madja. Yeah, it was Madja and Robinson who came in. Is it just me, or did you think the team selection was a bit off today?
Yeah, it was a really frustrating one. I mean, look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. And when it came out, I think we were probably all looking at it thinking it was a sensible choice. I think for me, it was kind of clear that Scott was trying to fight fire with fire here. Obviously, we know what to expect with Leeds, high energy, high press. And there's a rational argument of why you put Reed, Lamina and Anguissa in there, right? Three high energy players, and to try and kind of turn the midfield into a bit of a boxing match. The issue when you do that is you play it into Leeds' hands. Like, that's the game plan that Leeds want. You know, that's the type of game that Leeds want to play. They want that high energy piece. They want it to be scrappy. In the end, I mean, the game was probably one of those which was actually quite fun for the neutral. Like, there were some good chances. There was some good end-to-end play. And, you know, if you're a fan of Brighton and Newcastle, you would have enjoyed that one for sure. But listen, no, it's super frustrating, I think, for so many reasons, but especially with Brighton Newcastle tomorrow. And the fact that, like, Leeds don't need the points as much as we do. Like, we really needed those points. The 3 points, getting a win, getting out the relegation zone would have been huge. And like, as people are saying, right, it just feels like a massive opportunity wasted.
Oh yeah, I think so. And what Leeds' last win in the capital, as everyone spoke about their poor record in London, I think their last win in the capital was that win against us in 16-17 when Sol Bamba scored. I think it was 3-0 Leeds, but I think it was a very close game and they sort of just battered us. I remember them scoring, I think maybe at the beginning of the second half. But like, we from the off, it looked like Leeds we were sort of playing into Leeds' hands, really, because we were playing out the back as we do, and they were sort of capitalising on winning the ball. But one area I want to look at is the midfield, because I think today showed that you can't really play Reed, Lamina, and Anguissa, Coops all in the same midfield.
No, they had Anguissa at like a number 10, and I mean, it just didn't work. And I mean, I know I've been critical of Anguissa, but he just doesn't want to be there. That's the thing that really frustrates me. He just does not. He's never wanted to be at this club. That's the thing where I feel like I'm talking against a brick wall. Like, can't anyone see that? And it was evident in the performance today. There was no effort there. Tracking back was abysmal. He was like played far too advanced. I mean, Reed, you saw how stressed he was from the kickoff. He was the only one in that midfield. I mean, Lamina, give or take, you know, he put in a good tackles and stuff, but you could see the panic on Reed's face from the very whistle. And it was that, right, we're not at the races here today, boys. I'm carrying this midfield. And when Parker took Reed off, I was like, that's it. That's game. It's essentially giving Leeds and Bielsa the run of the midfield. And yeah, no, we can't play all three. It's right. And because it's just, you know, it's trying to fit a square peg in a circular hole. And I mean, to me, evident today that Anguissa just does not. He gave the interview midweek saying that he's already eyeing up his options in the summer. Like, we don't need someone like that at the moment, and it really frustrated me. And I just think the substitution to take Reed off, who was the only player in the midfield who was really sort of, you could tell that he knew the importance of this match. To take him off, I just think was suicide. And, you know, we failed to get a grip on the game as soon as he went off.
I think with Anguissa, I don't think he had a good start to the season, but ever since the COVID outbreak we had in December, he's not looked the same player. He's looked the worst, obviously, out of the three midfielders. And as you said, George, when Reed goes off, even if Anguissa's not playing, whoever, but whenever we take Harrison Reed off the pitch, our midfield sort of can just get sliced through like butter. Like, it was the amount of counter-attacks that, you know, Leeds could have arguably buried that game and won it, you know, 3-4-1 towards the end. They had quite a few chances, and they were just going straight through the midfield. Obviously, another one of the changes was bringing Anthony Robinson in, and I thought both the fullbacks today, both Aina and Robinson, Singer, had a very poor game today.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say they both neither really covered themselves in glory too much. I'm going to throw a bit of a bone to Olorena and I guess say that we should definitely give him credit for how often he seems to get kind of switched between roles. Like, it must be really difficult every week playing on a different side of the defence, playing with a different centre-back next to you, playing with a different winger in front of you. You know, Cav and Lookman do have different profiles, and it's difficult, right? So I'll definitely throw a bone for Olorena there. Not saying he potentially had the best game of his life, but I think when every other week he's switching sides, like, it is really difficult for him to get into a rhythm. And then on the Anguissa piece, like, I definitely get George's point. I think the only other thing I'd add to it is, you know, maybe Scott needs to think a bit more about the balance and the qualities of the midfield. Kind of Reed, Anguissa and Lamina all are very similar players. They're the high energy players. They put a lot in defensively. But none of the three of them are hugely creative. I mean, Anguissa dribbles with the ball a fair bit, and he's tidy with the ball when he needs to.
But his dribble sort of just go in a very sort of oval shape, and then he ends up getting back to where he started. He doesn't actually. I don't think he. I don't. He
maintains possession in a stylish form.
I think if you compare the two Anguissa performances from his performance at Ellen Road to his performance today, the runs he's making are totally different. The runs he was making at Ellen Road, I understand he was playing deeper in the midfield, but he was getting the ball forward at Ellen Road. Today, I don't think he was getting the ball forward. I mean, and we spoke about Scott Parker's team selection. I think another thing he got wrong today was his substitutions, because for me, it wasn't, he wasn't playing amazing, but for me, Josh Madger was the person who looked like they were most going to score for us. And although I know Mitch has got a good record scoring against Leeds United, obviously scored 2 in the reverse fixture, but as soon as Madger went off, there was just not many. There wasn't the legs up there that we needed, especially when you're playing a team against Leeds. I think the Mitrovic substitution probably worked into Leeds' favour, to be perfectly frank. I thought Madger had a good first half. Obviously, he had that chance, which was a great save for Meslier. Unfortunately, the amount of backspin he managed to get onto it, otherwise it would have trickled over the line past I think it was Luke Ayling who cleared it off the line. But yeah, as I said here, as Conrad here, it's getting the ball. We didn't push the ball forward today. The ball, every time we looked like we were going to attack, the ball then ended up back to Tosin or Hakim Anderson. It was it was. I just didn't understand the tactics today. I didn't understand the team selection. But yeah, the Madger substitution made no sense to me. If you are going to bring Mitrovic on, I'd want him. I would take off Anguissa, for example, and have a 4-4-2 with obviously your two centre mids in Reed and Lamina. Have Lookman and Cavalier right, then have Madger working off Mitrovic. I think we needed to have if Mitrovic was going to come on, he would have to be with Madger. I just don't think Cav and Lookman were making the right runs to be working off Mitrovic today, Coops.
No, I agree. Lookman, I mean, I've been a big fan of him this season, obviously, but he didn't look his best today, you know, his sparky best. And when Madger went off, I was like, this must be an injury. I just couldn't get my head around the decision at all. As you said, Dom, he looked like our most threatening player. He had that shot that was saved. And yeah, I just couldn't understand it. I thought Cav I mean, he puts in a shift as he always does, but ended up looking isolated as he often does. As I said, Lookman just wasn't at the races, and I just could not get my head around that substitution. He must have been injured. Like I cannot logically fathom why you would have taken him off had he not been. What do you think, Singer?
He might have been. Like, we don't know. If he wasn't, then that's a real kick in the teeth to Maja. The other thing I'd kind of chuck in the mix, obviously Mitrovic he's rightly earned a lot of credit with the Fulham fans, right? You know, he's done amazingly for us in the Championship, and he put a strong performance in the Premier League 2 years ago. But I think today is the perfect example of why it's right he hasn't been playing. He was poor today. Like, Mitrovic did absolutely nothing, and that's broadly been the case since. I mean, obviously he scored at the reverse fixture right at the start of the season, but he's done so little so much this season. And I'm sure there's bits behind the scenes, like we've heard of bits of unrest and not liking the training schedule and pieces. But I think for me, like, this is lots of opposition fans are asking why Mitrovic isn't playing. I think today's the perfect example. Like, he was poor. He offered very little. He offered so little in attack. And yeah, for me, I thought Maja played pretty well. Like, he's not a link up forward, but he's a poacher. He gets in the right place at the right time. And when the game is as scrappy as it is, you're feeding off scraps. Maja's the player that I want to.
Well, especially when you're playing a defence like Leeds United, where you are going to get that space in behind. And I think Maja was getting some space. He wasn't, and he was creating chance for himself, like we saw with that shot in the first half, which was well saved by Mesleo and then cleared off the line by Luke Ayling. But for me, I just in the second half, and the only chances we looked like creating were from set pieces, and by that I mean it was the only chance we were really troubling the keeper. Apart from the obviously, and there was the cross, obviously the Lookman, which sort of hit behind it. But for me, we just looked so not nullified by Leeds. It wasn't even like Leeds nullified it. It just looked so sort of turgid and dull in the final third. Do you think? Yeah. Do you think what one issue I also have with Maja coming off is that if you look at our bench, there was hardly any attacking options there. I understand a lot of that is due to injuries, but if you then take off one of our only attacking options and then you're bringing them off for another one, you're limitless going forward. And George, do you think we've in Coops that is? Do you think we've really sort of saw where this is the sort of game where we needed the energy of someone like Bobby Decordova-Reid?
Yeah, I agree. You need that dynamism, and as you said, Dom, like against Leeds, you know you're going to get some chances that are going to pop up from sort of scrappy ping-ponging in around the area, and you need somebody who's quick on the feet who's going to be able to latch onto them. And yeah, BDR would have been perfect in this situation. And I mean, yeah, I agree. It's a shame. And yeah, I just can't get my head around that substitution at all. You do need that dynamic. This game for me is just, and we've seen it before in the earlier sort of reciprocal fixture. It's just Bielsa just knows how to get one over on Scott, and he had our number from the word go, and he completely, he dealt his hand, and we bit his hand. Like, it's just so predictable from us. That's the thing that really frustrates me. There was nothing. There was no curveball from us. There was no game plan. We just completely walked into Bielsa's hands, and he scrapped us. He wanted a scrappy game. He wanted just that frantic nature, high energy. Leeds players are so ridiculously fit. I was thinking there's no way that they can maintain this high press throughout the game, and yet they did up into the 85th minute, and we were just flapping from the word go. And there was just no game plan. We thought that we could walk into this match being like, as we do, play it out from the back, possession-based football. And Leeds, from the word go, scuppered that with their high press. And we just had no answer.
Well, we saw this against Manchester. I know Leeds aren't Manchester City, but we saw with Manchester City implementing a high press. What difference that makes? Because you're going to force defenders to have a mistake. One defender, obviously in Tossin's case, Singer. Do you think the last couple of games is just been an anomaly for him, or do you think actually when he is getting pressed high up and he's having to sort of be quick on his feet, he sometimes does get forced into these mistakes?
Yes and no. Like, I definitely see a point to that argument, and I think there's an argument with him and probably a few other players of being a bit more off the ball recently. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of holding back from putting too much blame on him. Maybe it's just the fact that I know how much he's elevated the defense from Hector and Ream, who he had before. Like, he is miles ahead of them and has offered so much. And like, I'm genuinely, as a fan, like, I'm so thrilled that we got a player as good as him, as young as he is, with so much potential so cheaply. So yeah, I don't think he's played all that well, but you know, I don't think I'm going to kind of sit here and throw any abuse or like any criticism in his way, because like, he's done so much for the club. He's been such a great acquisition. And listen, I'm sure he's only going to get better. He's still young. He's got some pieces to improve. And next to someone like Anderson, who again played fairly well today, you know, he's got the perfect partner to learn off and get better.
Yeah, Coops. One thing that this shows is, again, another poor result for us at home. Obviously, the only two victories, if you look at our victories, the two victories at home have come against only two teams below us in the table. And if you look at away wins, it's come away at you know, three teams in the top half of the table: away at Liverpool, away at Everton, and away at Leicester. Do you think in our final 8 games, that 5 of them away from home, as opposed to the only 3 at home, do you think that is something that does play into our favour?
Yeah, 100%. I do. And we've been abysmal at home this
I think
season.
what, today was only our 9th goal at home all season.
It honestly beggars belief. But yeah, no, when that flashed up and I had that realization on during the match coverage, I was like, thank God. I think that teams underestimate us when we're away from home, because they, you know, routinely seem sort of sit back a bit more and have a bit more high pressure. And I think we generally capitalize on that when we're away from home, because we can be underestimated. But I don't know what it is at home. I mean, what do you think, Dom? Like, why do you think it's been that we've just had such a terrible? I can't put my finger on it personally.
I think it's a general sort of point with football behind closed doors, that teams are performing better away from home. But I think for us, I know is it down to, you know, some people, I've seen it in the previous games where they point to the narrowness and the sort of togetherness of the Craven Cottage pitch. And if we go away to teams like Anfield, we're going to have, it seems like we have more space. But I think the point you did say is teams do underestimate us when we come to their places. And I don't think they, and I think there's always, when teams are going to go away to a team like us, they up their game. I don't think they up their game when we're going to their place. For example, Leicester, Liverpool, Everton, for example. I don't think they up their game when we're coming there, as when they're coming to Craven Cottage and knowing we're after the points as a relegation team. I think it's slightly different. Singer, what do you have any ideas why you think we've been so poor at home this season?
I think for me, it's not necessarily just at home. We struggle when we have more of the ball. We struggle when we're heavy on possession and we're trying to break other teams down. And I think that's what we saw today. And generally, when we're at home, we have more of the ball, because just that's the way that football works. I think what we saw today is just a great example of when we're a bit slower in attack and we have to be more methodical when creating. We don't necessarily have that way of picking the lock. Certainly none of the midfield 3 did today. And we had some players running behind, but we didn't really have kind of the build-up play to feed the ball in. Loftus-Cheek does it a bit, and like, part of me wonders whether if Tom Kearney wasn't injured for the whole season, things would be slightly different, because he was playing well.
I think today would have been different if we had Tom Kearney in the midfield ahead of Reid and Lamina in that number 10 position. I mean, he always seems to pick up his game when we play Leeds United. Obviously, you know, he was there as a youngster, wasn't he? Then went across to Hull City.
He picks up his game.
But yeah, I think we did miss it today. That someone in that 10 position who is an attacking midfielder. There wasn't, you know, as we spoke about, Anguissa didn't offer anything in that 10 position today. You know, obviously, where this leads us in the table is obviously we you know, Newcastle and Brighton have now played 2 games less than us. If we are looking at this game tomorrow, Coops, what result do you want?
Well, I want Brighton to win. I want Brighton to stuff them. That's the only result that we should be cheering for. Anything other than that, we are fucked. I'm sorry, but like we are so screwed. Brighton need to do a number over Newcastle. I mean, I know Newcastle have got like all their best players are injured. I think they're due. Their best players are due to be coming back sort of late April. So I don't think we can be banking on that for too long. But yeah, no, we need to be within 3 points with a better goal difference than Newcastle last game of the season. Otherwise, we do not have a prayer. If Newcastle win against Brighton tomorrow, then we are in. You know, for me, it's curtains really.
I think especially with Brighton's win at Southampton last week, I think that it is vitally. I think now we kind of just. Although it's nice to have other teams you can drag into the mix, for example, I think with us losing tonight, I think if we won tonight, it'd be a bit different. If we'd won tonight, I thought maybe a point in between shared, and so we can keep them both sort of within grasp. But with us losing tonight, I think Coops is right, singing in regard to we really just need to be in looking at Newcastle within our grasp, because Brighton, I think, you know, they've been close points wise, but I think Brighton can pull out wins like we did against Southampton last week. I don't have necessarily that confidence in Newcastle doing things like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
Go on.
Could I just interject? This point from Stephen Peterman sums it up. Not beating West Brom and Brighton a few weeks ago as to find our season. Like, it's no longer in our hands now. Like, we have to rely on other matches, which is a really sad fact. But I think that's definitely true. Like, it's no longer in our hands. We need to rely on like a whole lot of good luck and results going our way. Like, we could have ridden off the crest of the wave of our form and had destiny in our own hands, but I just don't think that's longer the case.
The margins are so fine, right? If one of those, like, think of the Brighton game, right? If was it Loftus-Cheek in the last minute blocked off the line? Like, if you think about that going in a 3-point swing, and it's a very different conversation, right? Yeah, I think for me, when you've got the momentum, you want as many teams around you, and you want different options. You want the ability for both Brighton and Newcastle to slip up. For me, now we're no longer in that position. I would rather we only had one team to go after. I do think, Brighton are like a dog on a leash, right? They're being held back by this just inability to finish. As soon as that turns around, like, they're off. They're performing like an upper mid-table side. They're performing like they could end up in Europe, but because they can't finish for shit, they're languishing. Newcastle are a pretty terrible team. Their numbers are awful. Their attacking output is dreadful. But just because they've been
if Callum Wilson was at either Fulham or Brighton, like, either team would probably be sitting in about 14th, 15th place. Comfortably, because it's a play you can score goals. And an interesting point is, obviously, what have we won? We've won 5 games this season, and if you look 2 seasons ago, we won 7. I'm not saying I do think we will get more than 2 wins for now in the end of the season. We're going to have to if we want to stay up. But it is as the point you had on the screen before, George. It is the 2 draws against Brighton. The game against West Brom at Hawthorns. I don't know how we sort of not scraped a draw, but had to come back from behind to get a draw in that game, and we should have been about 4-0 up at half time. You look at even games like the home game against Liverpool, and it was a dubious penalty that sort of made us drop points in that. I don't think there's going to be a point in the season where we're like, that was the reason. If we end up going down, that's the reason we didn't stay up. I think it's just accumulation of loads of different things in different games. It's not just one thing. You can pinpoint the penalty. Look at this penalty against West Ham. You can pinpoint, if we paid attention in the first 5 minutes against Leeds, we could have got something in the reverse fixture. The games away at Brighton and the games away at West Brom. The game earlier in the season against Sheffield United. Like, there's. I don't think people are going to be like, oh, that was the reason why Fulham went there. It's just an accumulative issue of us not taking chances and getting punished by teams with good quality players, like today with Bamford and Rafinha.
Yeah, it's a good point, Dom. And whilst you talk about not talking about individual incidents, I'm going to highlight this comment from Leigh. Let's talk about the handball, because we've not addressed it yet.
The 2 of them, right?
Well, I'm just interested to hear what you guys thought on it, because I I personally thought it would have been harsh, but friends who I
Right.
was
So
talking to,
Go on, Dom.
if you look at an incident like Kamara's against Liverpool, if you're comparing the two, it's handball. I don't want to be in a game where that is handball. If I don't want that to be handball
yeah,
because it's not. It's an innocuous. I know it's both their hands or armed, but for me, yes, we can argue that it shouldn't be given, but that's arguing with something that's just a bit of luck, which we didn't unfortunately get today. But then that, if you're looking at that, that's as close to being handball as, if you look at how close your side was for their disallowed goal, and it's a great header from Luke Ayling at the back stick. Was it Tyler Roberts who whipped in the cross? So it's unfortunate that something like that wasn't given in our favour, but I don't want to be watching a game of football where any situation like that then becomes handball. Because for me, yeah, as you said, Coops, I think it would have been harsh.
I think for me,
what do you reckon, Singer?
the Lamina handball a few weeks ago, like, I don't know about you guys, but that is like just completely shifted my
but that's where the problem that's where the problem lies, because it's handball.
It was within the rules of the game.
Handball
at the time.
The one they changed 30 minutes after.
Handball seem to be judged in different ways in different situations. So handball from a defending team from a set piece is for some reason analysed differently to a handball that's hit a player that's leading to a goal, which is fucking stupid, because handball's handball. And for me, the Lamina wasn't a handball, and I don't think today was handball. I think it's pointless getting sort of caught up in something like that. I mean, it's a penalty. You probably would have missed it anyway. So, I mean, there is that point. Obviously, it probably would have been Cavallero, I imagine, who would have stepped up to take it. But but Cavallero, he was the last one to score a penalty for us, so he's probably going to be the next one to take it. But I think, I don't think there's much point in getting caught up in things like the handball, because it wasn't like we created a great chance and the handball was ruled that out. It's just a luck. It just unfortunately hit Leeds players' arm. It's just something like that. And I think that did show that, again, our best chances were coming from set pieces. There was the other one where sort of Stroik hit it back into the box and someone didn't get it back over the line. But for me, I'm not one to get caught up in something like that. I just think if you analyse in the 90 minutes, we just weren't good enough today. I think that's the pertinent point, Singer.
I'd agree. I think, like, if you're a neutral and you watch that handball, like, no one wants that to be given as a handball. The only reason we would say anything differently as Fulham fans is, like, I still feel like so bitter about the Lamina one that, like, I feel we deserve this one. Like, I feel the footballing gods, like, they owe us this one. Like, that's not how football works. But yeah, that's the only reason why I watch it, being like, oh, like, come on, that would have been a really nice way of kind of
rebalancing,
rewriting karma somehow. But yeah, look, it wasn't a penalty, and the ref made the right call.
Right, we've got a good comment from Chris Lewis here. Dom, I know how you feel about the international break. It's sure. Well, normally in non-COVID times,
I should have been flying to Albania next weekend. But...
Well, yeah. Oh, you must be absolutely reeling. I mean, think of all the trips that you've missed out on in this past year. But let's not dwell on that too much.
Yeah, no. But in regard to Chris's question, I do think the international break has probably come at a good time, because these last two games, obviously picking up the defeats against City and against Leeds today, the defence has been a bit more making mistakes as we've been used to. So I do agree with Chris. I do think it actually has come as a good time to regroup. It's not like we're a top six side where your entire squad is going away to different nations. There are going to be a lot of the players who are going to be staying at Motspur Park, and I think it is time to regroup. And then go again when we play, obviously, Aston Villa I think that's what the Saturday 8:00 kickoff, pretty my least favourite kickoff for the weekend. But I just get the game out of the way. I can't be bothered. Like Friday night, fine, because it's Friday, done, game's done. But Saturday night, no, I don't want to have to watch like 4 other games before we get to our game. But yeah, I do agree with Krista. I do think it's come at a good time. I think we have we need to just regroup, rebuild, and then go ahead again when we go to Villa Park after the international break next month.
I mean, that's surely a must-win game, Singer. If there's no question as to what is going to come of our season if we don't win that game. I mean, the way we got Wolves, Leeds, Villa, we had to win 2 of those 3 games. Is the way that I saw it going into this, and obviously we haven't got a result against Leeds. I think we need points on the board from those 2, and then obviously needs to say Newcastle in the last game. But like those are the 3 that are the kind of point grabbing, within our grasp, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're at the point where like a single game becomes a must win. But I think you look at a period of games, you look at those 3 home games coming up, the 2 and then the Newcastle one, like those, you need points across those games. And I guess a loss against Villa might not be the end of the world, but we're now at the point. How many games are left? Is it 8 games left?
8 games left, 5 away, 3 at home.
Yeah, so we're at the point where literally like a game flipping on its head is going to be the difference in relegation and survival. So yeah, look, it's going to get really close, but I completely agree with Coops. Like everything is just be within touching distance of Newcastle in the last day. Then it kind of is in our hands, because if we win the last game, we stay up. So yeah, for me, it's just hope Newcastle get smashed tomorrow. Hope they get most of their team sent off and injured, and then just stick within 3 points of them for the last game. Like that's got to be the game plan.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to end on, Singer. The game plan is just simply staying within 3 points of Newcastle United. We played on the last day. I think it is easy to obviously we could have fans back for that game if all sort of rules and regulations go to plan. But it's been a nice debrief to not just be completely depressed about the game. Obviously, it's a disappointing way to start everyone's weekend, but there's still plenty of football to be played. As I said, there's 8 games. Thankfully, 5 of them away from home, where we seem to be better at picking off results. Winning at Goodison, winning at the King Power, winning at Anfield. But it's been a pleasure to be joined by both the Georges. So thank you, Mr. Coops.
Oh, you're very welcome, Dom. I mean, I said that because obviously, like you and I normally host it. I said in the group, we're going to be like the Southwest 6, Ant and Deck, and then Jack Collins quits. More like Dick and Dom. More at my expense than yours, I think, Dom. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. And let's hang on to that point. If we're within 3 points of Newcastle, last game of the season, fans back in the grounds under the glorious sunshine. Imagine what that that's the thing that we need to be thinking about, not the disappointing result today. Just set your sights on that, and then at least we've got some hope. But yeah, thanks for having us.
No worries. Thanks for coming on as well, George. Singer.
Yeah, thanks, man. This has been good therapy. It's good to see Coops smiling. At the start of this, you look so fucking miserable, and now it's actually nice to see you smiling.
Yeah, I mean, it's just talking to you boys. It perks me up. It's good therapy, as you say, Singer, and it's good fun.
Yes, I hope everyone else has enjoyed their therapy session. I'll be sending my invoices out over the weekend. But I hope everyone obviously enjoys the rest of the FA Cup and Premier League football this weekend. Obviously, international break, so we won't see you guys on full-time for another couple of weeks. But this has been full-time live on the Fulhamish YouTube channel, Facebook page and Twitter account. I've been Don Betts, been enjoying both the Georges, you Whites.